After my personal struggle with food left me sick and suicidal, I was struck with the realization that food alone can't fix us. So I set out to discover what could, and what I found changed everything. After coaching thousands of clients and interviewing the world's leading experts, I realized it was time to start a bigger conversation. What are you really hungry for?
It's great.
Ooh, good one.
What am I really hungry for?
I love that question.
It's time to discover what you're really hungry for. This episode is brought to you by the Institute of Transformational Nutrition. ITN offers the first and only personalized nutrition certification program that's backed by science and proven to get clients actual results and coaches actual income. If you're ready to be proud of what you do, feel like you matter, make a difference in someone's life, and actually get paid for it, then visit transformationalnutrition.com to take your first class toward your certification for free. What do you want to be when you grow up? We've all heard that question about 10,000 times by the time we're age 5. Adults love asking children's, teens, and 20-somethings about what they want to be when they grow up. So then why are so many of us so confused about it if we've been thinking about it since we were old enough to talk? Our society has established this idea that we should all know exactly what we want to do for the rest of our lives by a very young age. That being successful somehow equates to having a checklist of accomplishments that we move down one by one, checking each item off the list until we've accomplished everything that we set out to do without ever changing anything along the way. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like a pretty boring life. When we believe that we have to have everything figured out and set in stone, we basically narrow down the choices available to us in our lives, and we reduce the amount of freedom that we get to experience. Needing to have it all figured out becomes a source of stress, anxiety, guilt, and shame. We end up developing a complex about not knowing what comes next, not knowing what next year will bring, and not having all the answers to life's most pressing questions like, will I have a baby, or will I have an opportunity to travel the world? Each thought about needing to have things figured out pushes us further and further into a place of comparison. We wonder if we'll ever live up to this image of what our lives should be like. As you can already tell, there's a major problem with this. When we concentrate on a checklist for what needs to be accomplished in life, we stop appreciating the journey. We stop seeing the right now, and we're constantly living for the what's next. In an article written by Mary Schmitz, a columnist for the Chicago Tribune, she says, "Don't feel guilty if you don't know what you want to do with your life. The most interesting people I know didn't know at 22 what they wanted to do with their lives. And some of the most interesting 40-year-olds I know still don't." And she's exactly right. Not having all the answers can lead to some of the most extraordinary paths in life because it opens you up to new opportunities, to new doorways that you may have overlooked by being so focused on your checklist that you forgot to just look up. Plus, living life by a checklist gives us the idea that there's only one way to succeed at life and that everything else is a complete failure. And this just isn't true. There's no one right path in life. The only right path in life is the one that feels good to you, that makes your soul sing and makes your heart do the happy dance. Today's guest, Christine Hassler, is a life coach with a counseling emphasis known for catalyzing radical self-reflection while offering practical direction. She's passionate about busting the myth that life is about living by a checklist and having it all figured out. Christine, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, so happy to be here. This is a blast already.
Already. I love you. You know that I'm obsessed with your whole being.
Likewise.
I know. I'm excited to soul wrestle with you today.
I love that soul wrestle.
Do you like
We
that?
don't have to get messy physically. We can just get in with our words. That's amazing.
Right? Our soul's the essence of who we are, which leads right into what we're going to talk about because we're talking about, the whole topic is freedom. Like how to let go of the things that you should do and just do the things that you love, do the things that you want to do, the things that feed your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're the expert on this. I love it. So tell me though, like, I know you didn't just wake up one morning and go, I know what I'm going to talk about for the rest of my life.
No, not at all. I woke up a lot of days going, what am I doing? Who am I? Am I ever going to be happy? When am I going to figure things out? Like, when am I going to check the things off my checklist? That was usually what I usually woke up with a lot of anxiety. And my whole life, I was consistently chasing something. I didn't know what it was. It could be a career, it could be a relationship, something outside to make me feel better on the inside. And as a little girl, before about 4th grade, I was like all little girls or little boys. I knew I was loved. I knew I was whole and complete. There was nothing wrong with me. I wasn't jealous of other people. I wasn't trying to achieve anything. But then, like everyone's life, things happened.
Yeah.
And I started to form a story about who I am. And for me, one of the things was I was bullied. There was an I Hate Christine club. I was ostracized.
There was an I Hate Christine club.
Yes, I was not a member.
Wow.
And I compensated for that because whenever we feel less than or a lack in some way or like something's wrong, our ego as a defense mechanism has to come up with a way to feel more than. And so my particular brand was being an overachiever. So I was like, if I'm not likable, if something's wrong with me, because that was a story I made up.
Sure.
People don't like me, something must be wrong with me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be the smartest girl and just be incredibly driven. And on like the goal line of life, that served me well because being incredibly hard on oneself and being very driven gets you results in life. And I see that with so many overachieving smart people.
Yeah.
They can check things off the list, but it's driven by this insecurity.
Right.
So that lasted me for a while. I went to college, graduated early, double major, blah, blah, blah. Then, like all insecure people with something to prove, I moved to Hollywood to try to like have a career there. Ascended very quickly, was the youngest ever female agent, and kept checking things off the list, had the boyfriend, had the job, had the money, blah, blah, blah. And just, Cynthia, like nothing was making me happy. The depression was getting worse. I was actually put on Prozac when I was 10. So I had like basic 20 years of my life on different medications. And that feeling of, gosh, what am I really longing for? What am I hungry for?
Yeah.
I couldn't answer it. So I quit my job, thought that would be the solution. And then it was just the kind of dark night of the soul, major expectation hangover happened. So in 6 months, quit my job, which was my whole identity, got disowned by my family, got diagnosed with an undiagnosable autoimmune disorder on top of all the other stuff. Wow. Went into tens and thousands of dollars worth of debt because I was trying to keep up with my Hollywood lifestyle even though I was making no money. And then got dumped by my fiance 6 months before my wedding.
So things were looking up for you.
Yeah, things were going great. Wow. Everybody wanted my life, right?
Wow.
So that was kind of when it started to change, and that was when I realized these shoulds weren't leading to any lasting fulfillment. In fact, they were leading me in an entirely different direction because I always thought, I should make a certain amount of money. I should get married at a certain time. I should do what my parents want me to do. And the equation wasn't working. So with all those shoulds not working, I finally found myself on my bathroom floor one night going, do I even want to be here?
Yeah.
And that was the pivot. Like I had, and I still get emotional when I talk about it, I had a God moment. And that's when things started to shift for me. So this was a huge pivot point in my life. That God moment, for the first time, I felt everything on the inside that I had been looking for on the outside. And I got on my knees and said, all right, if I figure my way through this, I will dedicate my life to helping other people. And I think what I am most committed to, I felt so alone most of my life.
Yeah.
I struggled a lot with loneliness and isolation and depression. And I faked it well. I looked good from the outside because I could check all the boxes because I followed all the shoulds.
Yeah.
And so what I really feel one of my roles is to help make people feel not alone. But in order to do that, I had to take the mask off and be vulnerable and not have it all figured out.
Look, in your story, it just resembles mine so much. And I feel you. And again, we're soul wrestling. I just connect to you so deeply there. But it's really hard, Christine, because we grow up and we do hear, well, you should do that, you should do this, you should be the good girl, you should get the, the Mr. Right, and then we become so busy trying to be who they say we should be that we forget who we are.
Totally.
And so to be vulnerable and be like, that girl, that's not me at all. First of all, the courage that it takes to do that, where does that come from?
I used to think courage was not feeling scared. And what I've learned is courage is feeling totally petrified sometimes, but moving forward anyway. And I think a lot of it comes from getting hooked into a vision. You know, I think it's Michael Beckwith who says, pain pushes until vision pulls.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, I love that.
And my pain was pushing. And again, eventually a vision pulled, a vision of, wow, like maybe there's something more in here than there is out there. And so that was what it was for me. But today, you know, for where I am now, courage is just an everyday choice.
Just an everyday choice.
Everyday choice. Do I want to stay in my comfort zone? Do I want to play it safe?
Right.
Do I want to be more concerned about what people may think of me?
Yeah.
Or if it doesn't work out, or worst case scenarios, or future tripping? Or do I really want to have the courage to listen to my heart and go after what I'm hungry for without any guarantee that it will work in the way that I expected? And today I'm not afraid of expectation hangovers because I have tools and I've navigated through many of them. And so they don't stop me anymore. Of course, I still have fear.
Sure.
But I'm willing to take the leaps of faith.
Tell me about this expectation hangover. I love that. Explain what that is.
Well, it's funny. I'm not a big drinker. I've had more expectation hangovers than actual hangovers. But the term came, I just had it one night when I was realizing that most of my suffering and the suffering of the people that I help comes from when reality does not match expectations. And you have hangover-like symptoms, like there's a headache, maybe not physically, but your head is aching from the spinning and the figuring out and the lack of clarity. There's a sense of regret. There's a lack of motivation. And there's kind of just this not wanting to get out of bed and just wanting it to be over.
Yeah.
And I found that, you know, so many people, when they have expectation hangovers, including myself, just like with a regular hangover, you just want to take 2 aspirin, eat a greasy cheeseburger, and like make it go away.
Right.
But I've realized that leveraging our expectation hangovers and milking them for all they're worth is totally the doorway to healing. And I mean,
That sounds so hard, though.
yeah.
I mean, because what you're saying is just like feel it.
Yep.
And be with it.
Yep.
And for most of us, that's where this all starts, right? We don't want to be different. We don't want to feel different. We don't. That's why we follow the shoulds, you know, so that we're not the weird girl on the corner, you know, doing those things. So to do that, again, we're back to the courage, right? It takes a lot of courage, but you're talking about feeling something that's very painful. And I know from personal experience, like I was a number. I would numb out using every tool that I could possibly find. So how do you feel that pain, Christine, and just like, and stick with it?
Yeah. That's a great question. I'm glad you're asking. I'm glad we're talking about feelings because it's the first section of the treatment plan for expectation hangover because it's what everybody wants to avoid.
Yes.
And with all the alcohol and internet and food and work, I think work is one of the biggest addictions out there that's like okay because it's work.
Right.
Or, you know, getting involved in someone else's life, taking on projects. There are just endless ways to distract ourselves and numb and not feel. But feeling emotion is energy in motion. And we're humans. You know, I am a spiritual person. Like I have my mantras and I do my meditation and I love the spiritual world. I have a master's degree in spiritual psychology. And I know I am a human being.
Yeah.
So I'm a spiritual being having this human experience. And part of the human experience is feeling. I learned how to feel my emotion without having a commentary because there's a difference between releasing our feelings and recycling them. So we release them when we express them, not at somebody, but we feel, but there's a part of us having tremendous compassion. Because usually how people cry or how people feel is they don't let it move all the way through.
Right.
And then while they're having it, they're like, I don't like crying. Why am I crying? I look ugly when I cry. I want this to be over. There's this commentary and judgment. And the only way to release emotion is to have compassion. Compassion, means with, passion means suffering. So compassion is having compassion with that. So we feel our feelings while there's this other part of us that's like, it's okay, let it out.
Do you understand how hard that is for people? Because
I do.
How do I be here now?
Well, for me, I feel it's all about our relationship with ourselves. The reason that it's so hard to be here now is because most of us have an incredibly dysfunctional relationship with ourselves.
Whoa.
And we motivate ourselves by being driven and hard on ourselves. And I think the first step is really looking at how we talk to ourselves on the inside. I often ask when I'm speaking, how many of you, if you talk to your friends like you talk to yourself, would have any? So the first kind of step in that waking up and awareness is really listening to just how you're speaking to yourself. Would you speak to a friend that way? Would you speak to a child that way? And most of the time the answer is no. Yeah. And knowing that, there's this kind of ego part of us that's in the day-to-day life, but there's this deeper part that's our higher self, our inner wisdom, our soul, whatever you want to call it. And if we get present, we get still, and we just take a breath, it's like we start to connect to that. But I really do think it's a willingness. And often it takes a big whopping expectation hangover and losing something that really matters to you to go, okay, wait a second. Maybe I'm willing to do this a different way.
Do you believe we have all the answers we ever need inside of us?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do.
How do you access them?
Oh, getting really present, getting really quiet, and knowing that answers don't come necessarily in form. They come in feeling. So,
the answers don't come in form. Right. They come in feeling.
Exactly. Sometimes it's our intuition's
That's
don't
true.
walk down that dark alley. Break up with that psycho. Sometimes they're loud and that's great. But other times it comes in like you start to feel this feeling of wanting to serve.
Yeah.
Or wanting to connect, or wanting to be creative, or wanting to do research. You get this feeling, and that's often how the answers come. And that's the difference to me between like an ego-based want from our head and surrender.
Surrender. See, surrender, and this is getting us back to the shoulds, right? And I don't want to lose those steps. Wake up was the first step, but you say so much every time you open your mouth. I'm just going, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that thing too. I want to talk about that. But surrender. Yeah. Can we talk about that for a second?
Please talk about surrender.
Oh my gosh, girl. If we could just surrender from the very beginning, we wouldn't have the should. No one would care about the shoulds. Right. But we don't. We're conditioned from a very young age for all the things that we should do. Yeah. How do we surrender to just being who we are?
That is a great question. And I think the first thing is, let's not confuse surrender with resignation. Because I have a lot of people be like, oh, I've just surrendered it. And I'm like, no, you've given up. That is totally different. Resignation has kind of a lazy giving up. I don't want to do what it takes. Yeah. Surrender has, I still have high intention. I'm still involved in my life, but I'm surrendered to the form. We're back to form.
Right.
I'm surrendered to the timing,
the
package, the way it needs to be, the exact plan. I'm surrendered to that. And to me, I like to practice proactive surrender. So I feel like Spirit meets us at the point of action and intention.
Yes.
So let me take a step, let me take an action, and then surrender and sort of see what the next step is. And I think sometimes the expectation is we want to get to the second floor and we want the entire staircase to be revealed.
Yes.
But it's that step by step by step. And surrender, I think it's impossible to surrender if you don't have some kind of spiritual practice, some kind of connection to God, universe, source.
What are you surrendering to?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you need some kind of faith to know that you're a co-creator. Yeah. It's the difference between life happens by me or to me, to life happens through me and with me. And, surrender is, I think it's one of those kind of sexy spiritual words that sounds great, but it takes a high degree of commitment and a willingness to be uncomfortable and to not know. I think that's the other thing we're addicted to, control. It's like, things are chaotic, so I'm in control, and that's going to give me this illusion of safety. Yes. And, that was great. That totally worked for you. And that was like a survival mechanism.
Yes. Are we the same person right now?
I love it.
It's so great. Let's get back to those 5 steps because I want to talk about those. So wake up. Yep. Wake up is the first step. And then?
Yep. So then it's really about awareness. It's starting to do the detective work, starting to read the books. It's like the book comes, the person comes, the program comes. You start to get aware and you can explain yourself. And that's really great. Any therapist would be proud. You can explain your issues. But awareness is kind of just entertainment unless you get to the next step, which is integration. And integration is when you get those opportunities to practice, because change happens at the level of behavior.
Yes.
It really does happen at the behavioral level. And when we rewire our neural programming and we make different choices, and that's where the rubber meets the road. And a lot of times people will come to me and they'll be like, I worked so hard on like all my relationship issues and I just attracted the same kind of person. I'm like, that's great. You're getting a do-over to integrate.
Yeah.
You get to respond differently to this one.
Yes.
Like,
See, I
that's the
believe
choice.
that. I believe until
yeah.
we get that right, the universe will just keep giving you that opportunity.
Absolutely.
It's an opportunity over and over again until you get it.
You know, sometimes there's an overnight shift. Like you have an issue and then you're clear. And that's fabulous. If that happens for you, awesome. Like 5 personal growth stars. But usually it takes a while for these major things that we've been carrying around for decades to shift. And so the integration phase can be long. And that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't mean we're doing anything wrong. And then we move to application, where we start to kind of apply everything we've learned to our life. And things may look different. Our health may look different.
Yes.
The relationships may look different. The career choices we make. We tend to create different results. And for a lot of people, it can be a total 180 in terms of how their life looks.
Yeah.
And then finally, we're called to serve in whatever way. And serve doesn't mean, you need your own show and book. It can just mean how you show up is different. And I also think, a big way that we serve is as parents. I'm not a parent yet, but any parent has the opportunity to break generational patterns.
Yes. Oh,
And that's
girl,
major service.
You're like, now we're wrestling.
Yeah.
Because that's my thing. Yes, Christine. Because, I'll tell you, for a really long time, I was terrified of being a mother because of my relationship with my mother. And I thought I didn't know how. I just thought, I don't know what to do. I can't be a mother because I don't know what to do. What I didn't want to do was to perpetuate me, like what happened to me, to perpetuate all of these things that happened. So I had this, come into Jesus moment, if you will, right after I had my daughter, because I kept saying, I don't know how to be a mother. I don't know how to be a mother. What am I doing? And I had this God moment, as you call them, where I felt, Christine, that yes, this was my earth mother that I chose for a reason so that I could stop this pattern. And I realized that I had been mothered all along by my heavenly mother.
Exactly.
And I had everything I needed to be a great mother. It was my excuse. It was just old patterning. It was old thinking. And once I tapped into that, everything shifted.
Isn't that amazing?
It's one of the most, other than her birth, probably the most life-altering experience I've had.
Wow.
Christine, I could talk to you all day, but I won't because you've got other things. You have a world to go change, so I'm going to let you do that. But first, before you go, the name of the show is What You're Really Hungry For. So Christine, tell me, because I am dying to know, what are you really hungry for?
Well, of course, I love my work, and that's a big part of it. On a personal level, because I want to share what I'm personally just so hungry for, longing for is, so I had the broken engagement, and then I was married, and I'm divorced now. And the past decade for me has been really rewiring and working on myself and being so dedicated to my growth. And I'm at this place of just so much peace. Like I never thought, Cynthia, I'd be just happy and peaceful and like myself and like have friends like this. And this is just like, I'm living my dream life. And what my heart is longing for is to share that with an amazing partner. That partnership, that 2 people looking in the same direction, side by side, I'm just giddy about sharing that with somebody.
Something tells me that's not going to be a problem.
He's close.
He is close. Thank you for being here, Christine. Thank you for this just tremendous amount of wisdom and for sharing your story and for being so vulnerable to share your experiences and what you've learned with others. I think that's how we all continue to learn and grow. So thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for creating a space to have these kind of conversations.
It's a
They're super
pleasure.
fun. Soul wrestling.
Soul wrestling.
The best.
This week is all about the fact that we need to drop the idea that there's only one proper way to live our lives. We discussed how you can follow any number of paths as long as you're happy. So I invite you to choose one of Christine's tips that she discussed during our show and start implementing it in your life today. What one step can you take today to stop being driven by a checklist of shoulds in your own life and start being fully present? As always, the conversation continues at cynthiapasquella.com. Head on over and leave a comment below this video telling me the one thing that you will do to start embracing your unique path in life today. Did you like this video? If so, please subscribe and then share it with your friends. And if you want to hear more from me, including things that I only share in email, then head on over to cynthiapasquella.com and sign up for my email newsletter so you can become a part of this beautiful community of women who are discovering what they're really hungry for. On next week's episode of What You're Really Hungry For.
I can say today that I am proud that I have PTSD. You can be a better person because of your experience. And you don't even know how or why that's going to happen yet. But trust me, it will. The minute I started accepting that, the emotions associated with it just were released.
The Institute of Transformational Nutrition offers the first and only personalized nutrition certification program that's backed by science and proven to get clients actual results and coaches actual income. If you're ready to be proud of what you do, feel like you matter, make a difference in someone's life, and actually get paid for it, then visit transformationalnutrition.com to take your first class toward your certification for free.